Hello everyone, I'm Amethyst Dream Witch, and today I'm going to be giving you a couple of ideas for a couple of spells to help with exam season, because here in the UK at least it's fast approaching exam season. I know some start next week, some start a couple of weeks later, but it's just an idea for you to give yourselves a little boost. Now, I will preface this by saying that with any spell work, if you want it to really work, you can't just do a spell and think that's it. You have to back up the spell with actions that you can take that will reinforce the intention of the spell. So, for example, a study spell. I've got two spells that I'm going to be going through today. One is a charm bag spell. The other is a candle spell. So it's up to yourselves which one you want to do, or if you want to do both, that's absolutely fine. Remember, if you don't have all of the things that I have, that's okay. Work with what you have. You know, if it means raiding the spice cupboard and seeing whether you've got rosemary, you know, as an example. This is my I haven't grown this. This is my current stash of rosemary. It's a decent amount, and you don't need much. You'd only need a pinch of it, however much you feel you need. So if you've got rosemary, rosemary's good. Rosemary is always a good herb to have in general, just because it is the substitute for any herb. I can't remember what the flower substitute is, but I'll pop that in the description below for you guys to have a look and see. So let's get to it. So I'm going to start with the charm bag first, because I've got the rosemary in front of me and, you know, I've got it in my hand, and that's just so much easier. So with this, all you'll need is a little bag like this one, something that you can put things in. It doesn't have to be as big as this, it can be smaller. It all depends on the size of the things, of the crystals that you're going to add. Now, I should have remembered this. Clear quartz is the best substitute for any crystal. It doesn't matter what it is, but all you have to do, I'm going to use this fluorite point as an example. If you've got a piece of clear quartz, you can hold it in your hand, and keeping that intention of what it's for. So for example, fluorite is good for focus. So if you've only got clear quartz, don't worry, that's fine. You can imbue that, you can charge that clear quartz with the intention to help you with your focus, to stay focused on the subject you're revising for. So yeah, you can just sit with it. You can hold it in your hands. You can speak your intention into it while holding it. You can also write on a piece of paper what you want the crystal to do. So if it's to help you with your memory, to help you recall information, you can do all of that. So you can either charge it, or you can, if you've got the crystals, then you can just use the crystals, and that's fine. So yes, the bag, some rosemary, and then I've got sunflower petals. Lovely little stash of those. And then I've got some marigold petals as well. So they are similar, but they are different. So with these, that's absolutely fine. And then So as much as I said I've got this fluorite point, I do have a couple of other pieces of fluorite. So I've got this one, and then I've got a larger one. So it all depends on what you want to use. So I'm going to use this one for the purposes of this video. But also, if you have a piece of fluorite, if you put it on your desk where you do, you know, wherever you do your studying, if you keep it with you, even putting it in a wire cage on a necklace, that will work, because it's to help you with your focus, so you can focus on that one subject until you've done that exam, and then you can move on to the next one, onto the next subject, and do that. It's completely up to you. So I forgot about putting it on in a wire cage. Mine are too big to do that, but personally my little fluorite point does live on my desk. Helps me to try to focus on the task at hand rather than being all scatterbrained like I usually am. So let's get into it. So this is to help with your focus, your memory, success, and to remove self-doubt. So removing that idea that, you know, if you've not paid attention in classes, so you don't know what certain lessons were about. This is to remove that idea of I don't know enough. Or even if you have done all the classwork, all the lessons, all the homework and all of that, that even though you may think you don't know it, you do. Because there's all sorts of things that you can do to help. Because there's something that I did as a child when I was younger and I was sitting my exams. I actually listened to music. It wasn't pop music, it was more classically. So it was some of the Andrew Lloyd Webber tunes, but without the singing. So there was no singing, it was just the instruments. And I actually remember I was sitting, can't remember which subject it was, but I was sitting in one of my exams and I got to this question and I initially froze, but then in my head I could hear the music that I'd listened to while doing my revision, because it just, that's how I happen to remember it. And I'm fairly certain it happened again, but I don't remember for certain. But it definitely happened at least once. And I will say I'm fairly certain I passed that particular exam. So yes, even music, classical music is good, because you're not getting lost in the lyrics, the beat of the music. You are just present. So classical music could also help, because it's a memory thing. If you listen to the same, because I only listened to the one album, to the one CD on repeat. It was just constant, it was always on, and it didn't matter whether I was sitting inside the house or outside in the garden doing my revision, it was on, and it was always there. And it helped because I could hear the music. You know, if I'd been doing a particular section, I'm trying to think, say for example I did Romeo and Juliet as part of my English, I got to that section and remembered it based on the music that had been on the most while I was listening, while I was doing my revision. I could hear the song, I could hear the music, and it was just amazing. I was rather surprised at myself with that, so that's something to bear in mind. But let's get to it with this spell. So just to hold it nicely open. So first we're going to add fluorite for focus. So as you add everything, all you have to do is say, this is for focus, this is for memory. So for example, hematite, something else that could be useful is a worry stone, or a thumb stone, as some call it. So I've got a nice chunk of hematite. So as I said with the putting crystals in wire cages, you can get hematite rings. I don't know so much about fluorite. I know hematite can do, you can find hematite rings. I did have one and then I dropped it and broke it. So I have the pieces, I just don't, they're somewhere by my desk. But so I've got this chunk, this lovely chunk of hematite, and then I've got this little worry stone. So that curve sits on my thumb nicely, and it's not wobbling because it's in the curve. So if you can have this in there or have it with you before and after, then you can just sit and rub your thumb on it. So that's also an idea. But let's add the hematite. This is for memory, and we are boosting the hematite with rosemary. I do apologise for that beeping. I keep forgetting to put batteries in my alarm clock, so it beeps at me. It has been doing so for a few days now. But anyway, so we've got the hematite, we've got the fluorite. So now we're going to start with the herbs. Now, as I said, you don't need much. You only need a pinch. You don't need specific amounts like a teaspoon, a tablespoon, none of that. So all you need to do is add as much of it as you want. Now, I'm not going to use my fingers because they are on the stickier side of life. So I'm just going to pour some in very carefully without sending it everywhere. That'll do. That's a nice enough amount. Rosemary is good for memory, so if you want to remember anything, you can add rosemary. Rosemary's a really good herb for memories. Marigold is going to be for the removing that negative self-belief. Now, I'm not going to use much because, again, it's literally just a pinch, small pinch, and in it goes. Sprinkle that, and then finally, let me just seal that off. I always like to try and get the air out of bags as much as possible. And then you only need a couple of sunflower petals, and these will be for success. Now you can add a specific number. So for example, if you're doing your age 16 exams, then you can add in as many petals as subjects that you're taking. You can do the same if you're doing exams at 17 or 18. So I've just got a couple here, a few. I think there's about 3 there. So those go in, and that's it. That's the bag. So if you keep this either on your desk, in your school bag, If you can have it in a pocket, have it in a pocket. But yeah, no, you can keep this anywhere you like. You can even put it under your pillow to remember what you've been studying overnight. It's completely up to you where you put this. But once exam seasons, once all your exams are over, you can take the crystals out, leave them on a windowsill at the new moon, and then that will cleanse them, ready for the next time you want to use it. But the herbs, you can sprinkle them either in a garden or in a local green space, giving them back to the earth, thanking the earth for providing the herbs that you've used and giving them back. So that's the little charm bag. So the next one is a candle spell. So I'm fairly certain I said that before, but if I didn't, I'm saying it now. It's a candle spell. Now, this is a slightly finicky candle spell. It's because you need a yellow spell candle or a yellow candle. Any candle will do. So I've got this pair provided by the lovely Witch Casket. Most of the items I have, including the herbs, have come from Witch Casket. So even this fluorite point I got from them. So yeah, a lot of my supplies do come from them. And I don't necessarily buy anything extra. Every month I just get the subscription box. I know I posted the March casket last week. I will have the April casket up next week, but that's a separate thing. So you'll need a yellow candle. It doesn't matter whether it's this size, whether it's a tea light, a little tea light, or even if you've got a bigger pillar candle, it doesn't matter. A candle's a candle. If you don't have yellow candles, you can use a white candle. White is the best substitute for any colour. So a white tea light here is a just in case. But yes, so a yellow candle preferably, a white candle if you don't have one. Then you'll need a pin or a needle. I've got a lovely stash of pins, so I can use one of those. See, the spell that I found, and I didn't like it, says that you need sunflower oil to rub on the candle and then you roll it in the herb. I'm not a fan of putting extra flammable things on the outsides of candles, but that's just me. If you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. You won't need a massive amount of oil, just enough to coat the outside of your candle, and then you'll roll it in the herb. It's completely up to you how you do this, but what you would do is you would take your candle and you can either have one candle per subject, or you can use one of these candles and as carefully as you can carve into it the subject. So I'm not going to do it on this one. So for example, maths. It's an easy one. We primarily have maths as a core subject. So all you'd do is you'd scratch away to write maths, whether it's in a tea light candle or a candle like this. Just gently scratch away until you've written maths. You can, if you're using one candle per subject, you can, just use a tea light. Tea light's great. They will burn for about 4 hours and then they're done. but with a taller candle, a bigger candle, say like this, or you know, a bigger pillar candle, you can actually write all of your subjects in the order that you're taking them. So if you have your exam schedule, then you can write them equal distance along the side. So that's also something to think about. And of course, if you've got a long subject name, say for example, design technology, graphic design, you can shorten it, you know, DTGD, and the candle will be imbued with that. And then all you do is you sit and charge your candle, just like with the crystals. So you'd sit and hold it in your hands, and you can either just sit and concentrate and focus on the candle with the intention of passing your exams, or you can speak it into your candle, whether out loud, or you can whisper it, or you can just mouth the words. It's completely up to you. But then the candle, you can then sit it in whatever holder you have. I have a fair amount of candle holders. This one doesn't quite fit a tea light. It's a bit tight, but it could be used in a pinch. I also have this one. So this would be perfect for one of these candles because they'll fit just nicely in there. If you don't want to roll your candle in rosemary, so as I've said, it's a good herb for memory, what you can do is you can see if you can find a holder like this. So it's got that circle around the outside, but you can sit the candle in the middle. I'm using this one as an example because it's got a candle in it and there's stuff in the bottom. So I'm trying to be as careful as I can. But yes, because then you can put the herb in the bottom. You can also put crystal chips in it. If you wanted to put a piece of fluorite and a piece of hematite in this as well, you could. It's absolutely up to you. Whatever you feel is right for your spell is right for you. Just because I've given these examples today, it doesn't mean that's exactly what you have to do. You can do them however you want to do them. There's no right or wrong when it comes to spells. They are as individual as each of us is individual as a person. So you can just sit them in a ring. So I hope that's helpful. I want to wish everyone who sees this luck with your exams, with any studying that you're doing, and I will see you again next week. Stay safe, everyone. Good luck and blessed be.